The sound of barking echoed through the narrow hallways of the animal shelter. Each dog cried for attention, but one bark stood out, deep, sharp, and filled with anger. It came from the corner cage where a large German shepherd named Rex was kept. The shelter workers always warned people not to go near him. They said Rex didn't trust humans anymore. He had been rescued from the streets, where he was treated badly, and now he growled at almost everyone who came close. A big red sign on his cage read, "Aggressive. Keep distance." That morning, a family arrived at the shelter, a man, a woman, and their small daughter named Lily. She was only 8 years old, quiet and curious, with wide brown eyes that seemed to notice everything. Her parents wanted to adopt a gentle dog, one that could play with Lily safely. The shelter workers smiled and led them to a row of friendly dogs, wagging their tails and jumping with excitement. But while her parents listened carefully, Lily wandered off on her own. She stopped in front of Rex's cage. The German shepherd stood tall, his fur rough and his eyes sharp. When he saw Lily, he didn't bark. He just watched her closely, his tail still, his body tense. Most people turned away from that stare, but Lily didn't move. She simply stood there, her small fingers gripping the bars gently, and whispered, "Hi there." Her voice was soft, almost like she was talking to a friend. A shelter worker noticed her and quickly hurried over. "Sweetheart, don't stand so close to that cage," the woman said kindly. "That's Rex. He's not safe to touch. He doesn't like people much." Lily nodded but didn't move away. She could see something sad in Rex's eyes. His gaze wasn't angry. It looked lonely, like he didn't understand why everyone feared him. Her parents came over too, a little worried. Her father said, "Lily, come see this little brown dog. He's friendly and calm." But she shook her head. "I like this one," she said softly. Her mother frowned. "Honey, that dog isn't for children. He's different." Rex stood there quietly, his ears twitching. Lily slowly sat down on the floor, right in front of the cage. The worker was about to stop her again, but something strange happened. Rex's body relaxed. The growl in his throat faded away. He sniffed the air, then lowered his head to the ground. The shelter had never seen him this calm before. Usually, he barked at strangers or turned his back to them. But now, he just watched the little girl sitting cross-legged on the floor, humming softly to herself. Minutes passed. The other dogs barked and jumped, but Rex stayed quiet. Lily's parents looked confused. The staff whispered among themselves, surprised at how the aggressive dog was acting. Lily smiled at him, her voice light as she said, "You're not bad, are you? You just want someone to talk to." Rex tilted his head slightly, his eyes following every move she made. The shelter manager came over, a tall man who had taken care of Rex since he arrived. He frowned, whispering to the staff, "That's impossible. He's never behaved like this before." He watched as Lily gently reached her hand forward, not to touch him, just to show she meant no harm. Rex sniffed the air through the small gap, then stepped closer to her hand. The whole room went silent. The only sound was the slow wag of Rex's tail, once, then again. It wasn't full of excitement, but it wasn't angry either. It was careful, like he was testing something new. The manager blinked in surprise. "He's wagging his tail," he said under his breath. Her father gently pulled her up, nervous. "Let's go now, Lily. He's not safe." She looked back at the dog sadly. Rex gave a quiet whine as she walked away, pressing his nose against the bars. It was the first time anyone had heard that sound from him, a soft, pleading cry. The shelter worker looked at the cage, whispering, "He doesn't want her to go." That night, Lily couldn't stop thinking about Rex. She told her parents at dinner, "He wasn't mean, Mama. He looked sad, that's all." Maybe he just doesn't trust people because they hurt him before. Her mother sighed and smiled gently. You have a kind heart, sweetheart, but sometimes love isn't enough. Some dogs are too broken. Lily shook her head. Nobody's too broken if someone tries to understand. The next day, when the shelter opened, Rex was restless. He didn't bark or attack the gate like usual, but he paced back and forth, whining softly. The workers noticed and said, "It's like he's waiting for someone." And they were right. A few hours later, Lily and her parents returned. As soon as Rex saw her, his tail started wagging faster. The shelter worker gasped. "Look at that. He knows her." Lily smiled, pressing her small hand against the glass again. "Hi, Rex," she said happily. He stood right in front of her, breathing heavily, his brown eyes full of something new hope. The manager decided to test something. He told Lily's parents, "Let's see how he reacts again. But please, don't open the cage." Lily nodded and sat down like before. She began to tell Rex a story about her school, her teacher, and the flowers she planted in her garden. Rex listened quietly, his ears twitching at the sound of her voice. Every few seconds, his tail brushed against the floor. The staff gathered around, whispering in amazement. "It's like she's speaking his language," one of them said. "Maybe he remembers something. Maybe someone used to talk to him like that." The shelter had tried many trainers and volunteers, but none of them could get this close to him. And yet, this little girl had done it without effort. Lily didn't try to pet him. She just sat there, talking and smiling. She told him about her favorite book, about the time she fell off her bike but didn't cry because her dad told her to be brave. Rex seemed to understand. His head rested against the bars, and his eyes began to close slowly, as if he finally felt safe. When it was time to leave, Lily stood up and said softly, "I'll come back tomorrow, okay? Don't be sad." Rex let out a quiet whine again. The shelter manager scratched his head and said, "I've worked here for years. I've seen dogs calm down after months, not minutes. This is something else." Lily's father looked at him curiously. "You really think she made a difference?" The manager nodded. "I think she reached a part of him no one else could." As the family left, Rex stayed near the front of his cage, eyes fixed on the door. That night, he didn't bark once. He just lay on his blanket, waiting, tail moving slightly whenever he heard footsteps outside. The next morning, the staff found a small drawing taped to Rex's cage. It was from Lily, a picture of a big brown dog sitting beside a little girl holding a red heart. Under it, she had written in uneven letters, "Be good, Rex. I'll come back." The manager stared at the drawing for a long time, smiling softly. He turned to the staff and said, "Maybe she's right. Maybe he's not a bad dog after all." And in that quiet shelter, among all the noise and barking, one cage stayed calm, because for the first time, Rex believed that someone might finally see him not as dangerous, but as a friend. The next morning, the shelter opened as usual. The staff began cleaning cages and feeding the animals. But something was different. Rex, the German shepherd everyone once feared, was already standing near the front of his cage, tail moving gently from side to side. His food was untouched. His eyes stayed fixed on the entrance, waiting. The staff joked that maybe he expected his breakfast to come walking in. They didn't know he was waiting for the little girl who had changed everything. By noon, Lily's family arrived again. The moment she stepped inside, Rex's ears shot up. He barked once not in anger, but with excitement. Lily laughed and waved. "Hi, Rex. I told you I'd come back," she said softly as she hurried toward his cage. The shelter workers looked at each other, amazed again by how the big dog's behavior changed around her. Her parents greeted the staff politely, and the manager came forward. "She really likes him, doesn't she?" he said, smiling. Lily's mother nodded, but still looked nervous. "We just came to visit. We don't want to push too far." The manager agreed, but decided to allow Lily to spend some quiet time near the cage again. Lily sat down as before, cross-legged on the floor. She took out a little bag she had brought from home. It had a soft toy bone, some small dog treats, and a picture she had drawn of Rex. She held up the picture and said, "Look, this is you. I made it last night." Rex tilted his head and sniffed the air, his eyes following her every move. Then Lily did something unexpected. She took out a treat and placed it near the small visitor gate. The manager tensed up, but didn't stop her. Rex stepped forward slowly, his nose pushing through the bars. He sniffed the treat, looked at her again, and carefully picked it up. For the first time since he arrived, he ate something offered by a human hand. The staff clapped quietly, and Lily's face lit up with happiness. "Good boy, Rex. See? You're not scary at all," she said, her voice full of warmth. Rex wagged his tail harder now, pacing near the front of his cage, not wanting her to leave. Hours passed quickly as Lily stayed there, talking softly to him. She told him about her day at school, about her friend who had a kitten, and how she wished she could help all the dogs in the world find homes. Every time she spoke, Rex sat quietly, watching her, his sharp eyes soft and peaceful. Then came the moment that made everyone freeze. Lily stood up, looked around, and before anyone could stop her, she unlatched the small visitor gate that led into Rex's enclosure. Gasps filled the room. Her mother called out, "Lily, don't." But the little girl didn't move back. She stepped carefully inside, holding the soft toy bone in her hand. The staff stood ready, unsure of what would happen. But Rex didn't growl. He didn't bark. He lowered his head slowly, his tail wagging low to the ground. Lily took one step closer, whispering, "It's okay, boy. I'm your friend." Rex sniffed her hand, his breath warm against her fingers. Then, in the most surprising moment of all, he gently pressed his head against her small hand. The room went completely silent. No one dared to move. Lily smiled softly, her other hand resting lightly on his fur. "See?" she said in a calm voice. "You just wanted a friend." Tears filled the shelter manager's eyes. He had seen hundreds of dogs come through those doors, but none had transformed like this. The same dog who once barked fiercely at anyone near him was now sitting quietly beside a child, trusting her completely. Her father stepped forward, whispering, "Sweetheart, you did it. He trusts you." Lily looked up and said, "I told you, he's not bad. He just needed someone to love him." Rex gently lay down on the floor, resting his head on her lap as if to prove her words were true. The moment felt magical. The other dogs around them even stopped barking, as if they too were watching the scene unfold. The shelter manager cleared his throat and said softly, "I've never seen anything like this before. I think this dog has finally found the person he's been waiting for." Lily smiled and stroked Rex's fur gently, whispering, "I think so too." After that day, everything began to change. The shelter staff made a special rule allowing Lily to visit Rex every afternoon under their supervision. Every time she arrived, Rex would wag his tail, bark happily, and wait near the gate. He began to eat better, sleep calmly, and show no signs of anger. The workers said it was as if he became a completely different dog. Lily started bringing him toys and teaching him simple tricks through the bars. "Sit," she would say, and Rex would follow. "Good boy." She'd cheer, and he would bark joyfully. Her laughter filled the shelter, and even the workers said her visits made their days brighter. A few weeks later, the shelter held an adoption event. Families came from nearby towns to meet the dogs. Rex's cage had always been empty of visitors because people feared him. But that day, his cage drew the biggest crowd. Word had spread about the aggressive dog who became gentle for one little girl. People watched in awe as Lily walked right into his enclosure again and hugged him around the neck. Her father talked quietly with the shelter manager. "We never planned to take a big dog like him," he said. "But after seeing this, maybe he belongs with us." The manager smiled. "If any home is right for him, it's yours. He's already chosen your daughter." By the end of the day, the papers were signed. Rex was officially adopted. When Lily heard the news, she ran to the cage and hugged him again, laughing with tears in her eyes. "You're coming home, Rex. No more cages, no more waiting." Rex barked once and licked her cheek, as if he understood every word. That evening, the family brought Rex home. He explored the house carefully, sniffing every corner before finally lying beside Lily's bed. That night, he refused to sleep anywhere else. Whenever she shifted in her sleep, his ears twitched, making sure she was safe. Days turned into weeks, and Rex became a part of the family. He played in the garden, chased butterflies, and followed Lily everywhere. He learned to fetch, to shake hands, and even to guard the front porch. But more than anything, he learned how to love again. Sometimes, the shelter manager would visit, amazed at how calm and loyal Rex had become. He once said, "It's like she healed his heart." And Lily just smiled, saying, "He healed mine too." Months later, the shelter put up a new poster with Rex's photo. Beneath it, the sign read, "Once feared, now loved." The dog who found peace through kindness. People from nearby towns visited to hear the story, and many said they were inspired to adopt dogs others had given up on. Lily and Rex became local heroes. They were seen walking together every evening, the small girl and her once feared companion, side by side, their bond unbreakable. Whenever someone asked Lily if she was ever afraid of him, she would shake her head and say, "No, I just listen to his heart instead of his bark." Years later, when Lily grew older, she still remembered the first day she saw Rex behind that cold metal cage. She would tell everyone the same thing. It's sometimes the ones who seem the most dangerous are simply the ones who've been hurt the most. And with patience, trust, and love, even the fiercest hearts can become gentle again. Rex lived happily with his family for the rest of his life. He never growled at anyone again. Every night, he would rest his head near Lily's feet, peaceful and safe, knowing he had finally found a home and a little girl who believed in him when no one else did. And for Lily, Rex was more than just a dog. He was proof that kindness could turn fear into friendship, and that one small act of courage could change two lives forever.